Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Rhonda.
Whenever we need to work with our spouse on coming to an agreement about how we see things, we need to always watch our motives and our intentions and how we're coming across.
Yeah, because sometimes we can come across as if we're expecting the spouse to just lay down who they are to become what we want them to be. And if we're not accepting our spouse as is, but our spouse feels like we're trying to change him or her, they're probably going to withdraw from that.
We need to really appreciate that God made my spouse uniquely different than me so that I could see things through a different lens, through a different perspective, and learning how to value and appreciate something that is not you, that's different, that comes from a different background, different history, and all of that goes into the picture.
And so, am I considering what my spouse brings to the table? You know, our spouse may not want to work with us on our topic because they feel unheard. And it's totally a you issue and nothing to do with them. So, it may be that there's something on this topic that you need to really hear. And are you pushing to have a me and not a we?
Yeah.
You always want to have that in the back of your mind. Am I really considering what my spouse brings to the table so I can blend with it?
You know, you can't change your spouse. You only have power to change yourself. And so you always want to keep the focus on what do I need to do to change, because it would be very frustrating to try to change someone else when you don't really have the power to do that.
That's right. And so accepting the other person as is and blending with is more the goal of marriage rather than trying to make two people into either or.
Yeah. Another thing to be aware of is, are you being insatiable? Are you in a state where you really can't be satisfied no matter what your spouse does?
And that's a sad state where everything the other person does feels wrong.
It's never enough.
Yeah, and it comes across as though you could never be happy. People will actually give up trying when that feels to be the case.
And of course, we're not talking about your perspective of your spouse. We're talking about you shining the light on yourself and say, am I being insatiable? Am I in a place where no matter what my spouse does, they never can do enough?
Because these are things that can definitely close the other person. Am I coming across? And we could say, oh no, I would never feel like that. I'm not that way. Well, that may be the way you see it. But if you can't hear the way it feels to be your spouse, you could really be overlooking a way you're coming across that's making you not be heard.
You know what happens is we start to focus more on what we don't have in the relationship, what my spouse is not doing that I wish they were doing, instead of what I have, what my spouse is doing that's right.
And you want to have an attitude of working together as a team.
Yeah.
And so it's more of I need to lay down what is totally Rhonda to find out what does Sean plus Rhonda look like.
Yeah. Another thing to remember is my request reasonable? Is this something that's really out of reach for my spouse to do for me? And I'm asking something that's not a reasonable request.
What if your spouse isn't at the same place you are in this particular area that you are making a request about? What if it goes against what your spouse thinks is better in this case?
Right.
It may be that you two haven't discussed it and been able to listen, and your spouse may struggle with that, and that could certainly be part of the picture. But if your request is unreasonable, you're probably not going to feel heard.
Yeah. We need to make sure that we're being patient with our spouse to be who they are and the timing of how they grow.